Sony won't let us have anything nice. Dark plates are dead because Sony's a bunch of buttholes. At least that's according to the story that's floating out on the internet, posted by Dbrand, who has been selling these customized faceplates for the PlayStation 5, known as dark plates, which you just kind of slide on and off of your PS5 and makes it so that they don't have those hideous white sides, but rather a nice and better dark side, which is absolutely how Sony should have launched this. But according to Dbrand, Sony is in the wrong. A lot of people happening to agree with them, and so I just wanted to make this video to have a discussion surrounding the whole thing. I'm not necessarily going to be talking about the legal side of things, especially since I am not a lawyer. I'm not necessarily qualified to talk on copyright or patent or trademark law, but rather just kind of talking about this from a marketing standpoint, or rather what is good for the end consumer standpoint, because I think it's probably a little bit somewhere in the middle of where Dbrand is positioning it, as well as what Sony is trying to take hold of. So in case you have no idea what I'm talking about, let's look at the backstory, which is this Reddit post that Dbrand made over the weekend talking about how dark plates are finally dead. You can no longer buy these accessories. And this is a pretty big deal for a lot of people because Dbrand seems to be the preeminent place that people go on the internet to change their devices or to debrand them, which is where they get their name. So in case you don't want, that Apple logo on the back of your phone, you put a skin on it and then it's debranded. That's the general idea behind it. They're the funny internet people who insult you for just talking at them sideways over on their Twitter account. But they do make really great products. You can obviously see I'm a fan of them. I've spent my own money on this. I had never been sponsored by them, so this is just my personal take on it. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Reddit post, but essentially saying that there are a few things to consider with the fact that they've been served with a cease and desist from Sony. They threaten them with legal action for damages as well as financial profit taking up to $150,000 per infringed work. And like any good internet meme company, they make sure to put Phil Swift there. It's a lot of damage for flex tape. Flexi.
No, that's a lot of damage.
So they go on to detail what specifically Sony is calling them out for. Number one, talking about the fact that the little designs that they have on the inside of the plates are infringement on the triangle, circle, cross, and square from Sony for their PlayStation branding, whereas Dbrand has made it so that it's a hazard symbol, it's an angry robot head, skull and crossbones, and Illuminati pyramid, and then drawing comparison to the fact that Squid Game actually has symbols that more closely resemble just normal shapes that you find out in wilderness, circle, square, triangle. Why are these trademarkable things? I'm not a lawyer, I don't know, but that just seems like a regular freaking set of symbols to me. Why is it trademarkable? Not my thing. But one of the key things that Dbrand pushes on here is that Sony talks about how they have a provisional patent for the design of these faceplates and not an actual patent for that, which is a key argument to what Dbrand is saying, where they are allowed to make this as an aftermarket accessory. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because I have personally been victim to a large major gaming corporation taking legal action against me and potentially ruining my livelihood. I won't say who it is, but it rhymes with piece of crap Tendo, who took down a video that I made on installing Android on one of their piece of crap handheld gaming things, and they decided they didn't like it, so they filed a legal injunction with YouTube and took down my video because of it and made it so that I couldn't post videos for 7 days. It's totally cool. I'm not bitter in the slightest, but I do think that maybe there are some parallels to what Sony is doing here and what happened to me with Schmishmindo, piece of garbage company, who I will now refer to as Butthole Company. Because one of the arguments that Dbrand goes on to make is that this is very similar to the idea, let's say you have a vehicle like a Ford F-150 and you happen to get into an accident and you need to have something like your bumper replaced. The idea that Sony will say, hey, you cannot sell these faceplates because we own the design on this, would be very similar to Ford saying to you, hey, you're not allowed to repair the back end of your Ford F-150 because we own the design of that little tailgate, which I think from Dbrand's perspective, I get how they're making that argument. I do think that once I own a physical piece of hardware that I should be able to modify it physically however I want. And that yes, the third-party market has to depend on the fact that Sony made this themselves. And Dbrand's point is that you don't buy dark plates unless you already own the PS5. So there's no money lost to Sony here by them selling this. However, I will, at least from what I understand of most car repair, you have to buy official parts from the manufacturer more often than not, especially for things that are like very specific to the vehicle, like the shape of the vehicle. Obviously you can buy third-party accessories, but it's not like it's been unheard of for car companies to go after companies who are selling third-party accessories to their vehicles. It's not like it's never happened. Is it the right thing to do? I would argue that it's a little crummy, especially limiting the options of the consumer after the fact by forcing them to pay jacked up prices for your own thing, which is what Dbrand is alleging here with Sony, that they're removing choice, they're removing the ability for consumers to actually use their device however they want. Sony already got their money, so they should just shut up and sit back and enjoy the profits that they already took on it. So according to this post, Dbrand sees three ways of this is playing out. Number one, they're merely trying to protect legitimate patents, which they've already said that Sony didn't provide them with any actual patents that have been filed. Number two, their brazen marketing pissed off somebody high enough on the food chain to sick their lawyers on us, which, in case you don't remember, Dbrand's marketing surrounding the whole dark plates was, go ahead, sue us. They literally begged for it. So a lot of people on the internet are just like, Dbrand, you're like the shocked Pikachu face. Hey, Sony, sue us. Get sued by Sony. Nani? We can't believe this would happen. What is this? The actions of our own consequences? Or Dbrand alleges number three, they're launching their own black faceplates or working on a licensing model where they have a monopoly over the custom faceplates, which I do think is probably the most likely one, as Dbrand goes to point out. They launched everything all in white, the PS5, the DualSense controllers, and the Pulse 3D headset. Then they launched the black DualSense controllers as well as Cosmic Red. How dare you dismiss that? We got options here. And then they just launched the black Pulse 3D headset, and the speculation is next that we're going to be getting a black PS5 from Sony, which would mean that, yeah, Dbrand is taking money away from Sony at that point, because you could just pay I think it was $65, I can't remember exactly how much these cost to customize a current PS5, or with how Sony has done these customized consoles in the past, like the PS4 and PS4 Pro, they just launched limited edition versions. Like I had the Death Stranding PS4 Pro, which I thought looked amazing with the map, except for it came with that piss-colored controller. I didn't particularly care for the controller, but the map portion of the PS4 Pro. But essentially what it comes down to is Sony wants to force you to buy a whole new console in order to get it. But one of the key weird things about this is that Sony has made them hot swappable, where they could have just baked them into the side. So it's kind of intriguing why they've made it so easily replaceable, and that comes up to there might be a potential licensing model, and only official third-party accessory providers are allowed to sell these hot swappable panels for the PlayStation 5, which Dbrand alleges is just a monopoly. So this is the initial conversation that Dbrand had internally with themselves against Sony's cease and desist, and just asking themselves what exactly is going on here. They didn't initially respond to it, but now they have, because a few months later from the original cease and desist, Sony came out and showed that they have a patent issued in Canada which covers the shape of the PlayStation 5's side panels, so that they actually do need to adhere to the violation of the patent and take their stuff down. So Dbrand saying, instead of answering the question, why didn't they tell us sooner, they're going to elect to submit to the terrorist demands for now. And saying, while we strongly believe in the consumer's right to customize and modify their hardware with aftermarket components, your dark plates are now a collector's item. You know what they say, you either die a dark plates owner or you live long enough to see yourself become the scalper, which was the entire point of this whole video. $100, baby. No, I'm not selling them. I actually think they look really good and I'm keeping them on my PS5, but that's the conversation that I want to have surrounding all of this. Obviously, Dbrand is alleging that Sony is trying to create a monopoly, that they are kind of anti-right to repair in some regards, especially with that Ford F-150 comparison, as well as the fact that Sony shouldn't be in the right in order to do all of this, which, again, I want to put aside the legal questioning here, because if Sony does have a patent and patent laws cover the fact that it has the shape of the little freaking plates is like this little curvy boy, and that's it, that's all it is, well, then maybe they should actually, legally speaking, have that. But there are plenty of things that are legally in the right by companies to do that are just really bad garbage marketing decisions and just kind of scumming against the general well-being of the consumer, which I would argue, if Sony is actually trying to take away the right for non-official third-party vendors to sell these plates, is kind of on that side of it. I like seeing what third-party accessories are coming out from little mom and and pop shops that are popping up on Etsy, like translucent covers that you can get. Or like this portable monitor, which I'm gonna be having in an upcoming video, which just directly pops onto the PS5 and then you're actually able to do it. This likely, I mean, I would guess, falls under the whole, patent violation if the Dbrand dark plates do, but at the same time, it's a really wicked concept that I don't think Sony would ever do, and the consumer is better off for having it. However, I don't necessarily think that Dbrand's perfectly innocent here. While yes, they do seem to be siding on the side of the consumer, they are also a business, and they also did basically beg Sony to sue them, and now it's the actions of their own consequences. So I'm curious, what do you think of this? Is this a screw Sony situation? Is this a you don't really care, you're just gonna get a PS5 if you could ever pick one up yourself, and you'll just take it however it is because they're in such short supply? Or do you think that Sony should be able to lock down this market, especially on third-party accessories, and that it should only be the ones that are officially made by them so that they can control the quality and the ability to customize it however they want rather than however the consumer wants? Is this something that vibes with you? For me personally, after I asked that question, I do think that I would prefer to have more options, obviously, and I think the mentality that these big game companies have over locking down their systems, especially when it's a stupid piece of plastic on the outside, like, it definitely hurts the consumer. And then looking at how the butthole company screwed me over because they don't actually want people installing different software on their own hardware. It's not like I went in and I produced a mod chip to physically go around some protections that you have. I didn't violate anything on the DMCA. I just showed people how to install an operating system. It's like me taking this Windows laptop and putting Linux on it. But yet, the butthole company didn't like that. They want to make sure that nobody's using their stupid portable handheld gaming console for anything other than their stupid high-priced expensive portable games that are just ridiculously expensive. And I'm not going to be super salty here, but it does feel in the same vein of trying to force control where there doesn't need to be control just for the sake of flexing whatever muscles they have, which is what I feel the butthole company did to me, and then kind of feels like what Sony's doing here. Should they actually care that Dbrand is selling these? No, probably not. It's not eating into their profits at the current point, and if they do end up releasing eventual consoles which have different plates on them, maybe there is some lost profit there, but consumers got a better version of what you initially launched and were able to modify it to their heart's content rather than to what your pocketbooks wanted. I don't know. What's the right answer? Not quite sure, but I wanted to have a conversation with you guys about it. Let me know what you think of it down below. Coming up later this week, we will be having the raid card expansion into the PS5, which, I mean, this is kind of a violation of what Sony wants too. They definitely don't want you doing these weird things with the hardware of the PS5. Could I potentially get another copy or community guideline strike on my channel because of it? If they take the butthole company stance, absolutely. So I'm putting my channel a little bit on the line with a company that actually doesn't really necessarily care about the base level consumers. That's at least my thought. It's still happening. It got pushed on the back burner because I was doing my charity live stream where we raised $150,000 to cure my son's rare disease, but that should be coming out later this week. Anyways, with that being said, I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. I'll see you in the next video, my friends, which is actually going to be about the whole charity live stream thing. So get subscribed for that. Cheers.